So, here we go. Hi, everybody. This week is Parashat Vayeishev, and we get to continue journeying with the Avot and with the Shvatim, as we're in Sefer Bereshit, right? Sefer Yashar. Brit Esh is one of the ways that Bereshit can morph. Brit Esh. This is the Sefer of the Brit, Hashem's Brit with us. So, we've been learning about Yaakov, and we've been studying about Yaakov's journey. And something that stands out as we're encountering and living with Yaakov is his shlichut and avodat be'erim, right? Yaakov is leaving Beersheba and going to Haran, and that's where he's going to build a family. And that's where he's going to gather his sparks. And if you thought that story was over, you're wrong. Because he gathers sparks there. And now Vayeishev Yaakov, Be'eretz Vayetze Yaakov. That's Vayeshev Yaakov Be'eretz Mugorei Aviv Be'eretz Canaan, I think is the pasuk. I think it's Be'eretz again, Be'eretz Canaan. Let's just double check. So we want to make sure we quote the pasuk properly. Ken. So I'll just read it again. Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz mugorei aviv be'eretz Canaan. Here is Yaakov, and now he's settling be'eretz, in the eretz. And the Maggid of Mezrich teaches us that be'eretz is he's settling in be'eretz, in the artziyut, right? In the physicality, in the earth. Right? Meaning what? Mugorei. What is his job here? In eretz, in the earth, in the material dimension of reality. He has to migurei, like an oger. What's an oger, Yekutiel?
Like to collect a hamster?
Yeah. Huh? Right, because they gather food in their cheeks, and they have these really big cheeks. Hey, Lauren. Hi. So they gather, right? So migurei is he's in the land, he's in the eretz, he's in the physicality, gathering. What is he gathering? What is he gathering up? Sparks. Gathering sparks. Mugorei aviv. Why is he doing this? Why is he gathering the sparks? Aviv, for his father, for Hashem. For Hashem. Right? Yaakov could have said way back when he was going to Haran, when he was starting this work of gathering the sparks in the materialism of the world, right? In the physicality of the world. Yaakov could have said, no thanks, let Esav go and do that. Clearly Yaakov and Esav couldn't share space. That's why somebody had to leave, right? And Yaakov could have been like, not me, I'm going to stay in the tent. No, but he said, okay, and I'm going to go. Aviv, right? L'shem Shemayim, for Hashem. And not only does Yaakov go, but he goes with chayut, looking back, right? Connecting before and saying that he's continuing this work now, right? He goes and it says he lifts his feet after his dream when he leaves Beersheba, right? He lifts his feet and he went b'simcha, b'zrizut, with chayut, right? To go and do this work. Aviv, for his father, for Hashem, b'simcha. Be'eretz Canaan. Be'eretz Canaan is Canaan. We have a verse that highlights the Canaan. Obviously, is the land of the Canaanites, right? This land that is not yet called Eretz Yisrael. But Canaan is milashon mischar, dealings, business. And it says in Mishlei, there's a pasuk in Mishlei, Yesh mefazer v'yosef od, again, let me make sure I'm quoting it correctly, Yesh mefazer v'nosaf od. That the way of doing business is very funny. It's funny how we do business. Yesh mefazer. You have to like scatter, almost give away an element of the yield. I think about the farmer. He gathers all the grain, and now what's the point? To eat. So there's what to eat, to make bread with, to sell the grain as something edible. What does the farmer do? Mefazer. Right? He takes some of those kernels and he spreads them, sprays, right? And then they decompose, right? Or like you think about investing in the stock market. You take money that you're meant to use, right? And you allow it, like make it that it's not liquid anymore. You don't have that money anymore. But what's the point? Yesh mefazer v'nosaf od. Right? This is how we do business in Galut. Interestingly, it's not the way we do business in the world to come. That's how we do business in Galut. You have to, I don't know, Mizrat Hashem will find out. But it's a different process. We don't need to gather the sparks anymore. This works because we scatter a little bit and we gather a lot. We can gather a lot more this way. And the point is we want to gather and gather and gather. And so Canaan is suggestive of this business model, of gathering sparks. So again, Vayeishev Yaakov be'eretz mugorei aviv be'eretz Canaan. Yaakov is continuously choosing, if you will, right? He's saying yes to his mission to gather the sparks. To gather the sparks like an ogel, right? To gather the sparks, and for the sake of his father, for the sake of Hashem. And the Maggid goes on. I believe it's still the Rebbe quoting the Maggid. I believe maybe it's already the Rebbe, who says that to do the work l'shem shamayim, to do the work for Aviv, right? For our father, to do this work of gathering the sparks for our father. There's something to say for staying super simple. Because the more we're simple, the more it's for Hashem. Sometimes when we get complicated, we can get also distracted. We can also lose sight of that focus that it's mamash for Hashem. We're gathering the sparks for Hashem. There's a quote I heard not long ago. It's an Israeli quote. Im zelo pashut, ze pashut lo yikre. You know that line? I thought it was a very good quote. It was, yeah.
It's like if it's not simple, something won't happen.
Exactly. If it's not simple, it simply won't happen. So just to explain the quote and then go back to the context, like when we're thinking about showing up, it's very nice to get complicated with our visions and with our ideas. That if it's sophisticated, right, and intricate and involved and everything like that, but if you don't stay simple, then it's simply not going to happen. Because at the end of the day, you have to execute the plan. So if it's too complicated, so that may or may not be true, meaning it's just a line, but it has something to it, to remember. Hey, Chaimushka. And I'm mentioning it here because it came to mind thinking about this idea of pashut. There's something about the pashut Jew, in our pashtut, that we get to touch the pashtut of Hashem as well. In our pashtut, in our simplicity, we can touch, we can connect with, you can unite with the simplicity of Hashem. So that's also not specifically the point that we're learning here, but I feel like it all helps us to appreciate that Rebbe is telling us that we want to serve Hashem for the sake of serving Hashem. There are many opportunities that come our way that might seem so simple that maybe we don't even go for them, because it's like we're looking for like bigger opportunities, or opportunities that are more, like you said, sophisticated, right? But really, the more simple the opportunity, the more likely you'll do it for the right reasons. Again, not to the exclusion of everything else. It's just a particular kav. Okay, so B'ezrat Hashem, to be able to be like Yaakov as he's continuing his work of gathering the sparks, Mugurei Avi, for the sake of Hashem, with simcha and with chayut and with zrizut. He could say, no, thank you. Let Esav do that. Let Esav go on the journey. I'll stay put. But he can continuously embraces that opportunity. L'shem shamayim. And if he does, then we can too. So we see that here in the beginning of our parsha. Another slightly more sophisticated, evoking Kabbalistic ideas, way to understand this pasuk is that Vayeishev Yaakov, Vayeshev is, like we said, he's settling. Meaning he's settling, we just said that he's settling in the Eretz, right? That's where he's making his new space, his new home, again in the world, not neglecting the world, in the world. But now we're looking at it a little bit more nuanced. Vayeshev is milashon lihityashiv, right? It's lihityashiv. Like lafnim, meaning Vayeishev Yaakov be'eretz mugurei aviv. That Yaakov is at this point, now that he's collected enough sparks already, thinking about like this cartoon, it's like you're gathering sparks, you've collected enough sparks, and now you can trade in your sparks for, for what? So for the opportunity to bring mugurei aviv into hityashvut. So what does that mean? So when I hear the word hityashvut, I right away go to Sukkot Torah. Okay, this is like the Torah of Sukkot. Right? Sukkot is, the sukkah is you have to sit in the sukkah, right? You have to sit in the sukkah. What does it mean to sit? It means to be hityashvut. It's like it's settled. I'm filling the space, right? It's like, as opposed to standing, for example, or moving, or running, or being around, or circling. To sit is to me and myself, I'm sitting, and to let an idea settle. Let's think about it that way, right? To let an idea settle, right? It's like I'm settled, and my ideas are settled, and I'm unified with myself in my sitting position. I'm present, I'm being, right? I am me. There's something about sitting that connotes all of those states, right? That state of being. That's why I said pnimi. It's like for the and Sukkot, we say that in the holiday of Sukkot, the orot that are makif, that are surrounding, that are larger than us from Yom Kippur, from Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, even from Sukkot itself, right? Get to settle in. And so, Vayeishev Yaakov, at this point now, Yaakov is having this settling in experience of Mugurei Aviv. So, of Aviv, his father, who is, in this case, right, in this translation, this understanding, his father is Yitzchak. And Yitzchak is Gvura. Pachad Yitzchak, Gvura, Dafka, Gvura of Atik. I'm just going to stay high level, like Kabbalah world, for just 2 more minutes. Okay, so of Atik, which is the pnimiut of Ketzer. Again, if you're familiar, then maybe you can place that in our scheme of godliness and spirituality. And if not, we can just say that it's very, very high, before Seder Shtashlut, even above the world of Atzilut. Gvorot of Atik, which basically is not even Gvura as we know it, because in Atik there is no left side. So it's this high chayut of Hashem that Yitzchak is migurei of it, meaning Yitzchak himself is in fear. This word migurei has to do with fear. Again, in another translation of this word migurei. So for what is for Yitzchak a pachad? What is the pachad? That the idea that at this level of gvorot, of chayut in Atik, which is so high, is shayach to be drawn all the way down here. That's a very outstanding, overwhelming, sort of shocking, very big mission statement.
Not simple.
It's not simple. I mean, it is simple when you're doing it, because if you can do it, it means that you're one with it, right? But until you've unified with this mission, it's very, very, very big. Gvorot of Atik being mamshich all the way into this lower world. So what is the pasuk telling us? Vayeishev Yaakov, right?
It's a big world.
It's a big world. It's a really big world. And the lights have to come into this big world from really, really, really high up there. Imagine coming from all the way out of in outer space, all the way here. It doesn't happen very often that a UFO or something from outer space lands here, because it's so far away. So imagine something landing here, a spark, an energy of Hashem landing here from even beyond outer space. And so there is aviv, there is pachad around that. But Yaakov, the Rebbe tells us, also has pachad in the beginning, and then not anymore. Now that he's amassed the sparks by Lavan, now he's not in pachad of this opportunity, of this mission, of this goal anymore. And it's Vayeishev Yaakov. it's settling for Yaakov. Right? The idea is settling, or he's settling into it, or it's settling into him. Right?
After leaving Laban.
Yeah, and Esav, and meeting with Esav. And ultimately, we continue this mission. And that's like the fulfillment of it is geula, personal geula, collective geula. That's the chayut, the gvorot of Ati coming all the way into this world. So Vayeishev, we're getting this settling in a little bit more at this point with Yaakov. And the Rebbe explained something that I thought was so just cool to think about in terms of our psychology and our avodat Hashem. The reason why somebody has like a fear of something, like Yitzchak and then Yaakov, also at first is like fear, meaning this is intense, right? It's because it's shayach to them. Something is not shayach to you, you don't feel around it. And certainly not fear. This opportunity, this dimension of godliness, of intense godliness that's meant to that will come all the way down here. Again, I don't know. Like fear.
You feel fear when it is shayach.
When it is shayach, yeah. The Rebbe brings an example of, who is it? The one here, Rav Zera. He says that he fasted for 40 days, 100 or 40, I guess there's different versions, before beginning to study the Talmud Yerushalmi. So he would forget, right? So he could be a kli for the Talmud Yerushalmi because it's so, Talmud Bavli, the Babylonian Talmud, this is the Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud are very different. So much so that it would be distracting, right? It's like a different plane of consciousness. Talmud Yerushalmi is of Geula. It's written in Yerushalayim, Bavli. Bavli is written in Bavel, in Galut.
Why they learn still Bavli? I don't understand.
People also learn the Yerushalmi. Everyone's invited. I mean, I can't speak on behalf of like students of Gemara, but anybody can learn the Talmud Yerushalmi. And so the Tana's name is Rav Zera, and he fasted for 40 days so that he would forget the Talmud Bavli. Why? So I'm just mentioning on this side. Why does he want to forget? Because it would be distracting for him, because the frequency is so different. So we spoke a few weeks ago about frequencies that converge and support one another, and frequencies that diverge, right? That distract from one another. Spoke for a few minutes about a simcha, like not mixing, like the simcha and the chatuna. But if it's a spiritual simcha and a spiritual,
Like Rosh Chodesh and Bar Mitzvah? No, not that.
Somebody asked that question. Your friend, Liat's daughter, Miriam, is that her name? No. Sarah. Yeah, she asked that question. She was like, wait, what about a Bar Mitzvah and Lag BaOmer? Or like, whatever. Yeah. Okay. So anyhow, this is an amazing thing to just think about, to appreciate how like Talmud, right? Like the frequency is so different. What's the point here? That Ben Zoma knew, not Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Zera knew that he was shayach to the Talmud Yerushalmi. He was shayach to it. Yeah, essentially. And that's why he engaged it this way. Yeah.
Also, Yerushalmi, like the rabbi, like it was more spiritual, like because it was written in Israel, like the writings are more spiritual.
Yeah.
And like I've learned before that the relationship between rabbi to student was more intimate in Yerushalmi. So like it makes a completely different way of looking at Jewish life.
Yafa.
Like in America, it's more like
Right.
America as well.
In Bavel.
Also in Bavel,
Right.
same thing. Actually, same thing. It's a more distant relationship.
Yafa.
So like the way the rabbis even look at Torah is so
Right.
different.
The approach, the process, the distillation. It's Yafa. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So I'll just read in the Lashon of the Rebbe. So with regard to Yaakov, שכדי שהעניין של מגורי אביו, פחד יצחק שלמעלה ממנו יכול להיות אצלו באופן של התיישבות, הוא צריך להיות אצלו עניין של חרדה. כיוון שזהו עניין שלמעלה ממנו, אבל גם שייך אליו. Right? It is above him. Pachad Yitzchak, this dimension, again, of godliness that B'ezrat Hashem we're tasting without realizing. right? And we'll taste more and more as Mashiach comes. Yaakov, it has to be that he's afraid, right? He has a pachad because it's so high. But also the fact that he has a pachad is because it's shayach to him. And that's why Vayeishev. That's why it's able to come into his sphere of opportunity, into him. Okay, so this is the segue. And Eile Toldot Yaakov. So this Yaakov, right, who is the third of the Avot, the choice of the Avot, right? The select, the third, the finale, this combo of Avraham and Yitzchak. The next pasuk tells us, Eile Toldot Yaakov, right? How does Yaakov continue on? What is the Hamshacha of Yaakov himself, meaning who takes over, right? Who's going to continue Yaakov? That's what Toldot means, right? The continuity of Yaakov, Yosef, right? Yosef ben 17 שנה, Yosef is 17, היה רואה את אחיו בצאן, והוא נער את בני בלהה ואת בני זלפה, נשי אביו, ויבא יוסף את דיבתם רעה אל אביהם. Got a lot already in the second pasuk. We already have we get all the context, right? That Yosef is unique, and he's also bringing. It's like, I don't know, what does it mean, right? He's like tattletailing on his brothers. There's something up, yeah. But already in the second pasuk, I'm just appreciating it. We already have like the unpacking of so much. And Yaakov loves Yosef so much, and he makes for him a ketonet pasim, makes for him a special cloak, right? Pasim, the rabbis tell us, is is an acronym for all the hands that Yosef would pass through. You guys know this, Rashi? Pasim, Rashi Tevot, Potifar, Socharim, Yishmaelim, Midyanim. Can. This coat, right? This special coat. But
all the nations that like went by and they tried selling him?
Yeah, that he did. He passed from hand to hand to hand to hand. Can. And Yosef is ultimately going down to Egypt. The Zohar I'm actually sharing something deep from the Zohar. The Zohar teaches that Yosef, Bnei Israel have to get down to Mitzrayim, and Yosef leads the way, right? Dafka Yosef leads the way. He's coming down as a slave. Right? He's coming down in this way. He's being sold as a slave because he became a slave to his brothers. Right? His brothers sell him. And so we know that Yosef goes down to Mitzrayim and the brothers follow. In other words, Am Yisrael have to go down to Mitzrayim. But it's so interesting because on the one hand, Yosef is going down and he's bringing everybody into Galut. And at the same time, I hope I can give it over, he's also impregnating, and just the word I'm choosing to use, he's also impregnating the Geula opportunity. Yeah. How so? A second. In the fact that he goes down as a slave. Right? So he goes down as a slave, it's like, wow, what's to come? We're going to all be enslaved. But the fact that he goes down as a slave is also the reason that there will be Geula. Why? Why does that make any sense? Because he's going down as a slave to his brothers. His brothers own him. And therefore, when all of Egypt gets owned by Yosef, they're actually owned by the brothers. In other words, we are the brothers, right? Meaning Am Yisrael, continue to be above the Egyptians. Right? Because the Egyptians will sell themselves to Yosef. But it's not an individual Yosef who they're selling themselves to, but rather the brothers, because Yosef was sold by the brothers. And therefore, even though we will become slaves, we're never going to be slaves like anyone else was a slave or were slaves to Egypt, in Egypt, right? Because we know the rule, a slave never left Egypt, and Bnei Israel will leave. Because even though we're slaves, we have this edge, right? We have this advantage that's already embedded in the very beginning. Anybody follow that? Mm-hmm. Right? Yes. Dafka, the fact that Yosef was sold and he was sold by by 10, which is, I'm just sharing a little bit more and then we'll go back in the direction that I was planning, that's not Hashem. But he was sold by 10 brothers, which is really interesting because there aren't 10 brothers there at the sale because Reuven wasn't present. And Binyamin wasn't either. So already without Binyamin, we only have 11. But so we have to count Yosef or Reuven to get 10. But Reuven wasn't there, and Yosef didn't want to be sold, but he's there. So there are different. So either you count Reuven because Reuven didn't. He heard and he didn't say. This is today's chitas. He heard and he didn't. Hu shatak. He didn't say anything. He wasn't there because he was busy tending to his. It was his day to tend to his father. But it says, he's like, what happened? And they told him, and Reuven didn't say anything, so he consented. So you can include him. But he wasn't there, so you can't include him. Right? Yosef, he was there. He's included, but he didn't want to be sold, so you can include him. And this is a part of the story, because the Rebbe says that they have to be there, either one, and it's different versions depending on who you include. They have to be there, but be there in this imagined form or hidden form. Because had there been a presence of 10, absolutely, then there couldn't have even been a manifest shi'abud. Okay. Meaning what happens on the surface is that we're slaves in Egypt. But we're always one step above it. As we said, meaning the freedom, the freedom is there. It's impregnated into the slavery.
Because the brothers are over the Egyptians.
Exactly, because Yosef was sold by the brothers. He belongs to the brothers.
And he became like the person running it.
Exactly, and they're right.
So they were running it.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
Yeah.
but when we go into slavery, all of them come down.
True, and they're over Egypt. So we are over Egypt. In other words, our enslavement is not the absolute truth. It's what plays out.
It perceives as the absolute.
Exactly. It's what plays out, but we're not enslaved in an absolute way. Yeah. I don't know why I was just thinking about this. I have no idea why. Maybe I hope this is helpful in some way because I still don't know how it's helpful. But for some reason, I just had this image of one pinky being above, just one tiny little dimension that's above. I was thinking about how there's different customs. Men who dip in the mikveh every morning, it's different customs how many times to dip, and there's lots of opportunity to dip lots of times with lots of kavanot. Yeah, nachon as well. But I haven't seen this custom by women. But men, because they have to dip so many times, they leave their pinky above the water, and they just put the pinky in. In other words, they go under the water, they leave their pinky above, and they just take their pinky and put it in and out, so that with each in and out, they're dipping another time.
Oh, so they don't have to pop all the way out.
Huh?
Yeah. So they don't have to pop all the way
Exactly. So it's not again and again and again in and out the water, right? Because our dipping is more. Yeah.
Makes sense.
I was just thinking, you're in, but you got this one little pinky up, It's no, it's not kosher because that's not the point in the dipping. It's you really are in. This just saves time. You get to shul, you're late for minyan,
What's better to dip, slower?
Okay.
What's the maximum number to do?
Whoa, I don't know. You'd have to ask Mekubalim. I don't know.
There are big numbers. There's more than 10.
Mm-hmm.
No, this was 300 something. I heard
There you
about
go. I knew there was going to be a big number.
Yeah, there's high numbers.
Tov. Okay. So Yosef is going to end up in Egypt. And before that happens, though, Yosef has dreams. Well, first of all, we know that the brothers are not so fond of him, right? They're jealous of him. There aren't good feelings. And now Yosef starts to dream, and he shares his dreams. What's the first dream?
About the wheat bending over?
That's the second dream.
Isn't the wheat
This is the second dream.
bending over back?
Ken. First dream is the wheat. So we have
Bending over to one
Nachon. Yafeh. Yafeh.
in the middle.
Yafeh. I think it's Yosef. Is it Yosef or his bundle?
his bundle.
His bundle.
Oh, I don't know actually.
The bundle. Okay, the bundle. In the middle. Nachon. באמת?
Wow.
You'll probably learn about it this week in school as well. So all the bundles bow down to Yosef's bundle. And the second dream got all these stars and the sun and the moon, and they're all bowing down to Yosef. Nachon? No, it's Yosef. Okay, so first of all, just pshat, before we get into the sicha. What is Yosef doing? Why is he sharing these dreams? What happens when he shares the dreams? They like him even less, which is a nice way of saying it, right? Why is he sharing the dreams? So I read I read quickly that actually Yosef thought it would help the situation. It's cool to get an answer that's like pshat. Why did he think it would help the situation? Because the first dream is like, they don't like him. Sorry, before I get to the first dream. They don't like him because, for all sorts of reasons, right? But it's like a personal, it's because Yosef is special, right? And if things continue the way they are, then Yosef is going to become even more special and even more beloved and even more extraordinary. And they're not, right? So that's not interesting if you're the brothers. But the first dream is a story about wheat. Wheat represents parnasah. Everybody's got their bundle. Everybody's got their crop. Everybody's got their earnings. And Yosef's got his. And Yosef is primary, right? Yosef's gets prime time. In other words, he's doing better than anyone else in business. That's a much better scenario than the story that was being painted by the brothers. Meaning, for Yosef to just be the best one in terms of the best, he's earning the most, he's doing the best in business, is a far better cry than the complaints they have against him at the moment. So we thought he was helping the situation by sharing the dream. And the second dream, similar.
Why would that be helpful?
Because it's taking down, because the hatred.
It's better, but why is it helpful that he's like going to be better in business?
It's not like personal. It's not because he's.
I'm only over you in business. Like the setup right now is that I'm just like better and better in everything. But look, I have a dream that talks about my greatness, and it's just a business thing.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm gonna be better. Exactly. I'm gonna make more money than you guys. Like in the next. I'm gonna win the lottery next month. Like I'm gonna do better than you this season. Whatever. It's not a big deal. Like let's just get over it.
They felt like inferior next to him. That's why they hated him.
Yeah.
And he got a special nigga from his dad.
I didn't understand that because there are different interpretations and. Yeah,
But any interpretation, you can simplify it the way you just did, right? However, whatever interpretation, and there are lots, right? We can go deeper and deeper, right? Whatever it is, they felt inferior. They felt like they were getting the raw end of the deal. So if the deal is just monetary, okay, we can live with that. We don't have to hate him. And the second dream that she didn't like the word hate either. The second dream about the stars. The stars are like mazalot, right? Remember, Yaakov Avram is taken above the stars are mazalot. So in this dream, Yaakov is getting the support of all the mazalot. It's not personal anymore, meaning let's take this argument away from just us, right? Let's take it to like this higher dimension, this higher plane. And actually, in this dream is reflecting the fact that Yosef needs support. Hu shafel, he needs the support of the mazalot, of all the mazalot. But it didn't. That dream telling didn't work either. And the truth of the matter is that's not all the dreams meant. The dreams meant something much, much more, right? That Yosef was going to be. Yosef does have something over the brothers that is very personal, that is very true to Yosef. As we said, Ele toldot Yaakov Yosef. Yosef is the Hamshacha of Yaakov. Yosef is the one who's going to bring all the lights and energies of Yaakov, as we started out learning about, right? Into continuity, meaning into the lower worlds. He has to, Yosef's job is, as Yosef is also a soul of Atzilut, and his brothers are not, but Yosef has to draw Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, right? Yaakov, Tiferet of Atzilut, into Bria, Yitzir, Asiyah. So send all that energy forward into the rest of Seder Shlalshalut. Again, all the way down to us. And so Yosef is the one who has this special mission. That's, as will unfold in the upcoming Parshiot and then beyond in Jewish history, really there is a rift between Yosef and Yehuda.
Thank you.
Thank you for your participation. There is the rift between Yosef and Yehuda. And there is a question, right? Who be'emet is the Hamshacha of Yaakov? Right? Who is the king? Who is modeling the work? Who is modeling the prime, who is modeling? Yeah, Yosef, thank you. Thank you so much. Yosef or Yehuda? But I want to leave that for later, that discussion, but I'm just mentioning it here because to reflect the fact that it's not so simple. And that's also, Abigail, when you said you heard different explanations as to what's going on here, that's also at play. It's who is the rightful heir of the Avot? Who's the next leader? And is it one? Is it one? Is it not all of us? Yeah. Right? It was always one, and now it's all of us. So why is anyone taking this seat? But Yosef does have a special mission. He does have a special light, and his dreams reflect that, and they will unfold in the way that they do. And not very much time, everyone's going to be bowing down to Yosef. In other words, there's something that he has to manifest in the world. And I want to spend the rest of our time, B'ezrat Hashem, looking at a sikha, and that goes into the two dreams of Yosef. So Yosef has two dreams, as we just kind of reviewed them quickly. And next week, Paro is also going to have two dreams. Nachon? And when Paro has two dreams, the dreams are very similar. Bless you. In content. Paro's two dreams are similar to each other. Right? The base. We'll talk about Paro's dreams next week, but basically, we have to mention them now. We get to mention them now. The first dream of Paro is with the cows, right? We didn't get there yet. 7 cows, because cows eat the cows. And the second dream is with wheat. The wheat eat the wheat. Okay. Basically the same storyline, Same storyline, cows or wheat, sheaves, right? Like shibolim. And in our parsha, we have bundles in the first dream, and then we have stars and the moon and the sun in the second dream. Also very similar though. Similar storyline. Bowing. Yosef. Similar. We don't need two dreams to tell us the same thing. And so when we come to Paro's dreams, the question is, why do we have two dreams telling us the same thing? And we say, no, they're not telling us the same thing. Well, they are. They are telling us the same thing. So why are there two? To tell us that, to tell Paro that, what does Yosef say?
7 years of food and then 7 years of famine.
And it's coming quickly. It's coming quickly. The dream repeats itself in two different forms to say that it's coming quickly. Why does Yosef's dream, which is similar seeming, show up twice? The Rebbe points out that in one of the dreams, and only one of the dreams, and only the second dream, we have the sun and the moon, we have a representation of the father and the mother, also bowing. The Rebbe says, why not have the extra bundles in the first dream? We don't need two dreams to bring out that point. Okay, so let's look at these dreams and see what's going on in the dreams in terms of our avodat Hashem, and what can we learn from them. L'chaim. So, you okay, Lauren? You're being super mama? So the first dream is very deep, and the second dream is very deep. So what's going on with these? So first, so bundles. We're gathering wheat, and we're making bundles. This is, First of all, actually maybe I should take out my notes to make sure I go in order. First of all, in Yaakov's dream, we have the first dream is of this world, wheat, and the second dream is of the heavens, right? So we have this world and we have the heavens. Para's dream, both dreams, this world. No upper world in the story. And even more than that, Para's dreams are pochot v'holech. Start with Chai. First dream is the animal kingdom, the cows. The second dream is vegetative kingdom. So we're going down, right? We're going down in the hierarchy of creation. Yosef's dream is Olim Bakodesh, right? We have both this world and the upper world represented in the dreams, and we're moving in the right direction, right? Starting here and moving upward. And in fact, Bnei Israel, as descendants of Yaakov and Yosef, right? We have two worlds. We have two worlds. And the chidush, it's not just that we have two worlds, but that we have two worlds all the time, right? Which reminds the Rebbe, funny, it reminds us, right? It reminds us of the story of the Rebbe Rayatz when he's in prison, which is not this week, right? And the Rebbe Rayatz is the previous Rebbe, right? The Rebbe's father-in-law.
That's the Frierdiker Rebbe?
Yeah, the Frierdiker Rebbe. And when he's in prison and the interrogator is trying to get him to talk, and he rotates the revolver and he says, this little toy has a way of making people talk. So, surely it'll work with you too, even though you're putting up quite a fight. And like you're not revealing, you're not informing on people, and you're not giving us the information we're looking for. And what does the previous Rebbe respond to him? True, right? True. That revolver, that toy does make people speak. It's effective.
Stars are higher?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the heavens, huh?
Stars is the heaven?
Yeah. The Shamayim, right? The sun and the moon and the stars are in the heavens. The Shamayim.
They're in Shemai.
Yeah. There's 7 heavens, but that's the heaven.
Space is heaven?
I think so. Shamayim. It's Shemay. Huh?
It's a representation.
Space is literally heaven, or it represents heaven?
Okay, so we'd have to define what we mean by heaven, but I want to leave that aside, even though it's a cool question.
So space right now is heaven?
Yeah, the sun, it's heavenly, right? Shemei. Shemei. It's like, that's the translation of the word shemei. It's heavenly.
It's literally above this world.
Yeah.
Celestial.
Yes, exactly. So what did the Frierdiker Rebbe answer this individual? He says, yes, that revolver, that toy does make people speak. I mean, obviously, right? Nobody wants to die. Like, that's what that toy does, right? That's what it can do. But it's only going to work on somebody who has many gods and one world. It says, I have one God and 2 worlds, or many worlds, 2 worlds, right? And so it's not going to work on me. And the previous Rebbe wasn't scared. He wasn't scared of the revolver. So the point is that not just that a Jew has 2 worlds. We know we have Olam Haba, but we have Olam Haba now, right? We have Olam Haba with us now, consciousness, right? We're living in this world, but we're also living in Olam Haba consciousness. Whenever, if you turn on to it, right? It's with us at all points. So Yaakov Avinu has 2 dreams, right? I keep saying Yaakov. Yosef. Yosef has 2 dreams. A dream that's of this world and a dream that's of the upper, reflective of the upper, the heavenly space. Representing that we have 2 worlds. Yeah.
You're saying it doesn't scare him because he knows that if he dies in this world, he's going to the next. He has a backup.
Yes, backup plan. Yeah, but more. I think more simple than that is I have 2 worlds right now. Right now, my world, my reality is not fixed the way yours is.
It's not limited.
It's not.
Torture is still
He doesn't want to be tortured.
Right.
He doesn't want to suffer at all.
Right.
Because why not? Because if he suffers, he can't do a shlichut.
Right.
The Rebbe talks about that mamash. At the end of the Frierdiker Rebbe's life, he couldn't speak.
Right.
It is crazy. It's crazy because he's a speaker. He couldn't speak. It's not okay. What did we say this morning? Somebody said such a great line. Chana, she's not here right now. She says, it's okay, but it's so not okay. She was quoting somebody, right? Okay. So So the Rebbe says we have to be the mouth of the Frierdiker Rebbe.
Because if you have two worlds, then you're not limited.
Exactly.
Like if you feel like you're just this world, then like you're always going to feel limited.
Right. Because we have one God, and our God is unlimited. You think I also think about it that way. Hashem Echad. No. So that's the first point that Rebbe makes in looking at the dreams. Just the fact that there's the one dream is the heaven, the other dream is the earth, and there's the heaven, and in this order, and the fact that we have these two dimensions, right, simultaneously. And the next point that Rebbe makes is that what's going on in Yosef's dream? We're working. We're gathering these. We're working. We're doing avoda. Paro's dream, there's no avoda. No avoda. There's cows, right? Cows are doing their thing. Nobody's working. Again, the point is not what's happening in Paro's dream. It's just a point of contrast. Yosef is dreaming about us. It's a story of Am Yisrael. First of all, that we have two worlds. Second of all, simultaneously, we have one God and we have unlimited, consciousness. But also, what we said the other day about how the Jew, right? The soul of the Jew is never in Galut. I remember we had that little bringing around this afterwards, right? The soul of the Jew is never in Galut. And we said, the Frierdiker Rebbe says that. Right? What does it matter if the body of the Jew is in Galut? No, because the soul is not in Galut, also the body is not in Galut. But you could be in Galut, we're all in Galut. But if my soul is one step above, relating to what we were saying before, right? That Am Yisrael always have this little advantage that's very significant. And it's because of that advantage that we get to go out eventually. Because we were never absolutely mishuabad. Right? So we're in this world where we're not limited to this world consciousness. It's because of our soul, because we're Jews, because we have a mission, right? Because we have to be a Hamshacha of Yaakov. We have to bring Yaakov, we have to bring Megurei Aviv. We have to bring, who remembers? The Gvorot, right? The Gvorot of Atik all the way into this world. We have to bring the Geula, right? So we can't be limited. By the constraints of wherever we find ourselves. We have to always be beyond, always be able to tap into our Ein Sof. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is that we have to work it. Yosef's dream is a dream of working. Right? We're gathering, we're working. What is the work? To gather these stalks of wheat. The wheat represents, similar to, as we said, mugurei before in our first translation, right? Like an oger is gathering sparks. The dream takes place in the field, dafka in the field. The field is the place of what? Labor. Of working, yeah? And it's the place of perud. Yeah, still in the first dream. The place of perud. We said, Esav, hu ish sadeh, Said, right? He's a man of hunting, he's a man of the field. Right? Yaakov is the man in the tents. But Yaakov also has to be a man of the field. Right? That's what we said. Vayeishev Yaakov be'eretz. In the eretz. Megurei Aviv. Right? He's gathering the sparks for the sake of Hashem. So what's the work? The work is to be in the sadeh. The sadeh is the place of perud. It's the place of Esav. This place of perud means separateness. Yeshut. Yeshut is the opposite of bitul. Right? Selfness. And to gather, to unify. Right? To gather is to unify. The Rashut HaRabim, this public space, the Sadeh, where everything is itself. Where everything is just as it seems. Everything is world consciousness, not Olam Haba. Where everything is that interrogator. Not because it's hostile necessarily, but because it's just an entity of this world, right? And but the brothers are working. They're gathering the sheaves. They're gathering the sparks. They're making bundles. They're bringing Rashut HaRabim, making it Yachid, right? Unifying, bringing into oneness. And there's one more element. What's the other element? That the bundles then bow to Yosef. Yosef's bundle. This is that the brothers are the world of Bria. Okay, so another Kabbalistic plug-in, right? But in the world of Bria. And Yosef is in the world of Atzilut. He is the soul of Atzilut. And the brothers, they need to do their work. We all need to do our work. The brothers need to each individually do their work. but they're not done until they send their work up through Yosef. Yosef's going to elevate it for them. And they need that. We need that component as well of our work. But the brothers don't know it. The brothers don't realize, which is a part of the misunderstanding, which is a part of the hostility. They don't realize, and there's another point I wanted to share from a different sicha we're bringing. Rabbi talks about that, and he says, like, the brothers didn't realize that there was another dimension, that there was another level of Avodat Hashem that was beyond them, that they need to regard, that they need to acknowledge, that they need to have, they need to be batel to. Then right? They need to recognize and submit to. They didn't realize. And the Rebbe says, can you blame them? Right? Can we blame them? What's so interesting is that, again, Kabbalistic for a second, that Bria is the second of the four worlds, right? Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. It's the second of the four worlds, but in another sense, it's the top of three worlds, meaning Atzilut is really its own category. Atzilut has less in common with Bria than Bria has in common with Yetzira or Asiya. Do you guys understand that? Did you follow?
Yeah.
Right? The gap between Atzilut and Bria is called Be'ein Aroch. This is a term we use a lot in Chassidut. It's to represent this like gap, an insurmountable gap, like Talmud Bavli and Talmud Yerushalmi. Like the created and the creator, lahavdil, right? Be'ein Aroch. There's no point of evaluation. You can't evaluate the gap. So Atzilut, Bria. So the brother souls are from the world of Bria, which is very, very high. Much higher than Yetzirah Asiya. So in terms of like everything beyond Atzilut, it's full. It's mushlam. They represent a state of being that's mamash tzadikim, mushlam. And in a certain sense, it's like, well, can there be something higher? Can we be chaser? Can there be a chisaron that we have to acknowledge? That we have to direct our avoda through to like escalate another level to be what it can be, to be all that it can be? And they don't assume yes. But this is a problem, right? This is something that was wrong in their assessment. And the Rebbe says something it's all deep, but I appreciated it personally. It says,
Yosef was from
Atzilut. Yeah. Yeah.
How can he grow?
1 second. Cool, interesting question. That's the fact that Bria is already Nivra. Okay, so again, if you're not so familiar with the four worlds and these ideas, then it might be hard to relate. I'll try and just make it a relative statement, right? We have Nivra and we have Boreh. We have creator and we have the created. Bria is already like bara, right? Yesh me'ayin is already createdness. Very high, very holy, the world of Bria. Still very abstract vis-a-vis where we exist, right? We're talking very high soul energy, very high energy in light of Hashem, but it's created. Whereas Atzilut is the Orot and the Kelim are one, Hashem, creator, if you will, relative to Bria. So the Rebbe says the very fact that the Shvatim are existing in the world, in the realm of Nivra, that's all you need to know to be able to have this humility, to be able to have this existential sense of there is more. We can't sense it. We can't sense it because we're at the top of our class. We can't sense it. But the very fact that we're a class, that we're created, in and of itself is suggestive of the fact that there is more. So you're asking, how could Yosef be more? 1 second. I thought that was very cool. Just like a very cool concept in psychology that's right here in this Farbingen of the Rebbe, right? It's like probably all of us don't suffer from thinking that we're perfect, right? Because we know we're not perfect. But maybe in certain aspects of our life, or maybe in certain moments where we feel a sense of like,